Red Skelton, the iconic comedian whose clownish characters like Clem Katiedohopper and Freddie the Freeloader made millions of Americans laugh during the golden age of radio and television, seemed to embody joy, warmth, and timeless humor, but behind the greasepaint grin and booming laughter he carried pain so deep that few ever knew what he was truly hurting from. For his life, though celebrated, was marked by devastating personal losses, hidden struggles, and heartache he rarely revealed. Born in Vincennes, Indiana, in 1913, Red's childhood was shadowed by tragedy when his father died before he was even born, forcing his mother to raise 4 children in grinding poverty. And though his early hardships gave him the resilience to survive, they also planted in him a sadness that would follow him throughout his life, even as he used laughter as both his shield and his gift to others. When he rose to fame in vaudeville, radio, and eventually television, Skelton became one of America's most beloved entertainers, a man whose weekly television show brought families together in front of the screen from the 1950s through the 1970s. But while the nation saw a clown who seemed endlessly cheerful, he himself often admitted in private that comedy was his way of coping with grief, loneliness, and loss. Perhaps the greatest heartbreak of his life came in 1958 when his young son Richard, just 10 years old, died of leukemia, an unimaginable tragedy that left Skelton shattered. And though he returned to the stage shortly after, those who knew him said he never fully recovered, often breaking down when he saw other children or speaking of Richard in hushed, tearful tones. His marriages too carried turmoil, with his second wife Georgia committing suicide in 1976, a devastating blow that left him filled with guilt and sadness. Though he never allowed audiences to see the depth of his pain, always putting on the brave face of Freddie the Freeloader or Clem to keep others laughing. Skelton's private life was also marked by bouts of loneliness and financial strain, as despite his enormous success, he faced betrayal by managers and financial advisors, losing much of the fortune he had worked so hard to build, a cruel twist for a man who gave so much joy to others. Yet what few realize is that Skelton's art reflected his hurt more than anyone suspected, for in his later years he became a prolific painter, creating hundreds of oil paintings of clowns with haunting, melancholy expressions, works that critics and fans alike saw as a mirror of his own inner sorrow, revealing that the laughter he gave the world came from a place of pain he could never entirely escape. As television moved past variety shows and his beloved Red Skelton show was canceled in the 1970s, he felt cast aside by an industry he helped build, retreating into private life, performing less, and channeling his emotions into his art still, carrying the grief of a lost son, a lost wife, and a career that no longer seemed to want him. The tragedy of Red Skelton is that while he made America laugh for decades, no one knew how deeply he was hurting, how much sadness he carried behind the clown's face, and how the man who brought joy to millions often found little of it for himself. Yet, in his pain he found purpose, using laughter as a gift to others even when his own heart was breaking, leaving behind a legacy not only of comedy but also of courage, the courage to keep performing, keep smiling, and keep giving, even when he was hurting more than anyone could imagine.